Hello, everyone. It's Michelle from the Aram Public Library. Today it is Happy Friday and a happy day with our Master Gardeners from the UW Extension Office. Welcome, welcome. Today I'm going to be driving. We're missing Julie. So we think we've got this covered with Sue and Brenda. And I'm gonna drive behind the scenes. So welcome to you, Sue.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope everybody is doing well on this beautiful Friday. First of all, let's talk about Master Gardeners. And Michelle, I'd like to share the screen with you. And if you can bring that up, please. Thank you so much. First of all, we'd love to say thank you to Aram Public Library, and welcome to Frequently Asked Questions with our Master Gardeners, presented through the Aram Public Library Facebook system. Go ahead, turn it, Michelle, please. Thank you so much, Aram, for hosting us. We're talking about coming monthly through the winter time and hopefully into the spring. And of course, we're excited to be here to provide some great gardening advice and answer those pesky questions that you may have about your houseplants and perennials and any other plants that we can help you with at all. University of Wisconsin Division of Extension, that's who we are. We are part of that extension. So we are, the extension's mission is to connect people with the University of Wisconsin system to fulfill the Wisconsin idea. We connect the research and education resources of UW-Madison with residents and communities to address local, statewide, and national issues. Master Gardener Volunteer Program, that is what Brenda and I are. We are certified Master Gardeners. We go through a lot of training, and we're always curious about learning more information and getting more knowledge. And so that's what we do. We go out and go find that information. We get certified, and now we know where to find most of the answers through the University of Wisconsin-Madison system. Gardening in the fall. Even though our growing season is winding down, there are some very important things we can do now to help set up for a successful garden next year. So you got to clean up or let it be. Definitely clean up any of those plants that had fungal or other diseases. Burn or bury this debris. Do not put this debris in the compost pile. The compost pile does not typically get hot enough to kill those diseases or that fungals or those fungal pressures. In general, vegetable gardens need to be totally and completely cleaned up because you don't know what you've got in there and you can't see it all. Ornamental beds, those are your perennial beds, where your flowers are at and whatnot. They can wait for late spring or in providing that winter interest and habitat and food for the birds, pollinators, and wildlife. So we want to keep them pretty much the way they are.
And let me jump in here, Sue, and just repeat that. I am subscribed to the messy garden philosophy, and the purpose of that is to keep all of your plant material in the ornamental beds as long as they, as Sue said, didn't have any fungal issues during the season, but leave those standing. Number one, it looks really good in the winter. It gives you something to look at anyway. Number two, it's absolutely critical for habitat for a lot of our insects and birds and critters that stick around in the winter. And number three, it does provide food also for a lot of birds and critters. So as long as it didn't have any kind of disease issues, leave it up until spring, preferably until the temperatures get to be 50 degrees during the daytime, because that will allow any overwintering insect eggs and critters to wake up and move on, and then you're not, dumping them all in your compost pile. So go ahead, Sue.
Exactly, and it even helps those birds. Helps those early arrival birds. They still look for those berries and stuff that are still dried on.
Yes.
Okay, so containers. containers. You got to empty and clean all those pots that you have outside on your decks, patios, and anywhere else that you have them around. You clean them with 9 parts of water, 1 part bleach. Make a fresh batch each time you change the pot, okay? The reason for that is because if you've got some sort of disease or fungal infection within that soil, you don't want it to carry through to the other pots. You prep those potted plants. You got to bring them indoors. You got to acclimate them to the changes in the temperature. Our indoors is not as cold as it is outside, so you got to do it a little bit at a time. Keep bringing them back and forth, in and out. And you just got to lightly spray them with water in order to get those bugs off. Try and spray underneath the leaves. Bring with the water hose, the spray up underneath the leaves, because that's where the bugs typically like to stay. They like to stay underneath those leaves, and they typically will shelter there. If you're trying to rain down on the pot, they'll be sheltered underneath those leaves. So that's what you need to do. You can repot those culinary herbs or other plants from the garden to overwinter in the house. You can do a whole lot of things like that.
Yeah, and Sue and I were actually just talking before the program started. The temperatures at night are getting very cold. In fact, I believe tonight they're supposed to get down into the 40s, which is too cold for your house plants. So if you've got house plants outside, bring them in tonight. Bring them in the next couple of nights. You can put them back out during the day. That's part of that acclimation that Sue mentioned. But now is a good time to start bringing those in at night.
Exactly. So the next thing we're going to start talking about, Michelle, thank you, taking care of your tools and equipment. Now is the right time to clean, oil, sharpen, and hang those hand tools up. You want to clean them also pretty much like you did the perennial pots. You want to winterize those power tools, especially if you're not going to use them over the winter time. You want to get all the gas emptied out, and you want to clean. You want to treat that gas and oil or paint them as needed. Just do the general maintenance on each individual power tool. Refer to those instructions, because they will tell you how to winterize that individual power tool. You need to drain hoses and drip and the drip irrigation systems and bring them indoors. Make sure that they are completely free of any water, because they will burst the hose if you have any amount of water in there. You need to clean out your cold frames. Now is the time to clean out your cold frames, supports, equipment that you use throughout the heat of the summertime. Set up that cold frame pretty soon, because now you can start actually planting in that cold frame and using that as a season extender to go well into most likely November, December. So you can start putting some plants in there at that. And then when you get that all done, clean it out again and get it ready for spring, because you're going to go back in there come like March, going into March. So continuing on, you need to take care of your soil. This is the right time right now to get a soil test for your vegetable gardens and any other gardens that you want to do. Simply fill out that analysis information, and they will help you, guide you through what kind of amendments you're going to need. You need to get those amendments in sooner rather than later, because that will help the amendments mellow out a little bit, because they will be too sharp for the plants to take up. They will actually harm the plants a little bit if you put them in the spring. So you got to keep that area your gardens weeded as well, because you want to make sure that you try and get that mature seed out of the mature weed seed heads out, to avoid spreading those seeds around, because one itty bitty part of your reed canary grass or anything like that thing literally has thousands of seeds, and it will disperse freely in the wind. Remove those weeds close to the garden, because they will harbor pests there around your garden area. And you also need to keep those weed seeds out of the way as well, because they will of course blow into that garden. And with you having the garden soils already amended and pretty much bare, you're going to be getting more weeds in there as well. So take care of your soil right now and make sure that those weeds are out of the way. Consider planting a cover crop over the winter. You can plant very many things. We have an excellent sheet on this in our UW system, in our University of Wisconsin Master Gardener system. It's wonderful on topic about cover crops. Organize your materials for the compost pile. Shred or chop those spent plants. Being careful not to put any fungal or diseased plants in there, because you typically cannot get that hot enough, and you don't want to spread that disease next year into your gardens. That would be a very bad thing. Turn your compost pile to keep it working. You got to keep it moving around to keep it working in proper order. Plan for next year. Take notes. What did you do wrong? What did you do right this year? What did you like? What didn't you like? Those are the kinds of things that you got to think about. You got to think about rotating your crops in your vegetable garden in particularly. You don't want tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, and potatoes in the same spot that you had those 4 items in that vegetable garden this year. So you want to move it around a little bit. Maybe you want your onions where your tomatoes were this year, or your onions where your summer squashes were this year. That's the kind of things that you got to start thinking about next year. That's a good time. This is a right time right now to start dreaming, so that when you start seeing those seed catalogs coming in, you can go, I know what I want, and you can get on with it. Collect seeds from those plants that you really loved, like your Rebecchias, your Echinaceas. Some of those seeds are hanging around right now. And you can start thinking about where you want those planted for next year as well. For more information about these topics, and please send us your feedback. If you have any questions, we are here to help you. We'd love to hear your feedback. A link to a very brief evaluation survey will also be posted in the comments. Contact Julie Hill at wisc.edu with additional questions. She is away on personal leave this week, so that's why we're pitching in and helping out. Have a good day, everybody. And there we are.
I'm just a little slow at that. So thank you to both Julie and Brenda, our master gardeners today, and everyone through the week. As you watch this episode or other episodes, please feel free to jot down your questions on Facebook, and the group will answer them throughout the week. And then also, if you happen to be in the downtown Delavan area this weekend, it's Scarecrow Fest. So stop by. There's going to be a lot of food trucks and music and all kinds of things. I'll be working the duck pond in the afternoon if you want to come and meet me. Anyway, so thank you to our master gardeners. Do we know what next week's topic is?
The notes just say final tips from the garden. Hopefully the gardens will last a little bit longer than another week, but
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not ready. My tomato plants are not ready yet to leave.
I'm not ready for
lots of tomatoes on them yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready for my tomato plants to leave. You're right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week and a lovely weekend.
Thanks, Michelle.